Thinking about picking up a Google Pixel 4a? Well, I've had this phone for about a week or so now, and I'm ready to give you a full review on the device, kind of what it's like, what I've been experiencing with it, and there's a whole lot of value on offer here. Let's explain why this phone is totally worth $349. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Let's begin by talking about the key specs, the body, stuff like that. 5.81-inch display here on board. You do have this more compact feel with this phone, only coming in at around 143 grams, but you can see right here, edge-to-edge display, the bezels on this boy, just extremely nice. Now, you can see right there, the chin, not too big either. Pretty nice overall touch here. The punch hole, if you notice something about this phone, well, I noticed about it, this phone actually has a whole set of wallpapers that perfectly match the punch hole. It's these right here, goes right over there with the nose, and then over here, the basketball you can see right there. Everything's kind of designed in these wallpaper set, but yeah, the punch hole camera up front. Over here on the back side, you do find yourself a fingerprint sensor. This is a polycarbonate plastic feel, but it does feel pretty nice. And one thing I noticed too was this fingerprint sensor right here. It has a really soft feel. It's very easy to feel out when you are going ahead and touching it. And it just feels a little bit better made than the fingerprints of some past Pixel devices. So really do like this here Google logo right there. And shout outs to Team Pixel. This is a gift from Google for sending this one out. You can see we do have a mint green button there. It's like a very light mint green. Volume rockers right here. There is a little bit of a camera bump that sticks a little bit off the body, but it's not that bad and it's probably not going to bother you too much. You can see right here we do have ourselves the headphone jack microphone hole right there. And there's also a dual speaker set right up there and down here. I think it's on this side. USB-C 3.1 right there. On the left side, nothing but the SIM card tray. So overall, a very clean, compact, minimal phone. Putting something like a Galaxy S20 Ultra side by side with this, you can just see how small and compact this device is. Very nice overall execution on Google's part for this one at $349. Okay guys, so the next thing I want to discuss is the text. The display on this boy is insane for the money. Now you do have an OLED panel. What does that mean? Basically very vibrant colors. Not sure how well it's coming through on camera, but they are incredibly vibrant, the colors on here. But what's really stunning about this display, and it's not a spec that most people are going to discuss too much, we'll just say the display is great. It does have 443 ppi. This makes this phone far sharper than something like an iPhone SE. And anytime you're reading any type of text, we'll click this article. For example, anytime you're reading text, everything is just incredibly sharp here on this panel. So you're gonna really notice that. Now, some have been saying that it feels kind of like a 90 Hertz. I don't agree there. This phone still feels like a 60 Hertz panel, but a very smooth one. So you don't really, probably are not gonna think about it much unless you're comparing it next to a 90 Hertz, a 120 Hertz display. It kind of feels very smooth like Pixels have always felt. So I don't think Pixels really benefited too much from those super smooth displays because they were already smooth. So it's probably not a big deal here. Now, when it comes to watching video, due to the aspect ratio on here being not quite 16:9, you're going to have to pinch in on videos that are not formatted for this resolution right here. But still, I mean, you still get a good experience and it's compact. But you're still holding basically the entire phone in your hand, the entire screen. It's like holding a little pocket screen in your hand. Now, a lot of phones are like that, but at the same time, they don't always have this compact, lightweight feel, still giving you edge to edge. And lastly, this thing is HDR, and it does have support for a feature that a lot of people dislike when manufacturers don't include that, always on display. So if we do always on right here, if we lock the screen, you'll see we'll have the ability to see our time basically whenever we want. We can just pick it up, look, and it's already on, and then it knows to kind of get ready for unlock because it knows you grabbed the phone. So very nice touch here. Overall, extremely impressed with the display. Only thing I will say is that the usable brightness, you kind of got to crank it up in the daytime, and it gets a lot brighter with the adaptive mode on. So I'd keep it there if you care much about that. But overall, I'm very impressed for the money on the display. All right, software. When it comes to the software here, you do have an incredible amount of basic features that you need for a phone. Now, this phone does rock the Android 10, but if you really look at the settings here of the Google Pixel, it's just got basically what you need. You got your network and internet stuff here. You have your connected devices here. Everything laid out very nicely. You have battery saving modes as well. You also have the ability to put on gestures, or you can do the buttons if you don't like buttons. So if we go to gesture, or if you don't like gestures, so if we go to gestures here, system navigation, and you have the choice to have buttons or gesture navigations. You can also use the fingerprint to swipe down for notifications. Very handy with that back fingerprint. So software does give you the options here. I personally love the gestures, would never put on the buttons anymore. It's old school to me, but some people still like it. You can also lift the phone to check. Also, this phone blocks robocallers, really like that as well. And it's upgradable for the next 3 years. So if you go to display, you also have some advanced modes in here where we can change colors to adaptive, boosted, or natural. Boosted gives you that really saturated punch. Adaptive kind of adapts to the environment. That's where I like to leave it. But again, really just providing you with the basics that you need for a phone at this price point. Also, you can see your battery percentage quite easily here on this device. I gotta say, software is a key separator here for Pixel 4a. It's one of the reasons why many people will be purchasing this device. 3 years going forward, we will be receiving software updates, and I wouldn't even be surprised if you got a couple extra after that. And not only does the Pixel nail it there, if you wanna go ahead and edit your home screen, you can go ahead and do that here. But really what's nice about this is that if you want to get insane with the customization, you can still do that, as this is Android. So you can take it as simple as it is with the Pixel experience, or you can go ahead and layer all your customizations, whatever you want on it. Also, you have the Google tray over to the left. Pretty nice there for this device, the Google search bar at the bottom. And one thing I will say that's pretty nice about this is, even though this is a smaller screen, you have the ability to split these apps. Now, that's an Android feature. Most Androids can do it. But at the same time, it's still nice that on a 5.8-inch display, I have the ability to do some split screening. That's some true multitasking right there. Now, what I've been really focusing on during my review process of this phone is how well does it perform with the 730G. And if you can see here in this video, it's fantastic. I mean, this is not the beast chipset on the market, the best on the chipset, but with an Adreno 618, it can still run a lot of games, albeit it will run them a little bit slower. You might have some frame rate delay in the most demanding titles, but you can easily play games on this phone. And yes, there's phones with better processors close to the price of this. But again, you're not paying for this phone for its beastly processor. You're paying for the software support and to have that Google experience. Another area where Google nailed this phone was the storage. Google easily could have put 64 gigs in this phone and it still would have been a hot seller. But at 128, I feel like it was just very generous of them to throw that extra 64 in there. Now, you don't have expandable memory here, so this makes this phone have enough storage to last you quite a few years. So it's not really surprising what Google Pixel has here with this Pixel 4a. You can see I really love this camera design. It reminds me a lot of the trend of the square camera bumps, but it only has a single lens in there, and it does have a dual flash right there. The flash gets plenty bright, although Google, if you're watching this, I would like an option in the software to go ahead and manually tweak the amount of brightness I'm getting out of that flash. That would be nice. But talking about the camera itself, it's just been fantastic. So if we just tap to focus, bam, you can adjust the exposure, the shadows, pretty nice here for this. It does take a second to process those photos, but it's doing its AI stuff and giving you excellent results. It's no surprise here. It's getting similar results as prior Pixels. And if we go to video mode, it also does great 4K video. In addition, in the more section, you have panorama, photosphere, slow motion, time lapse, and the lens feature. Portrait mode's available for both front and back. Night sight also available. I will say that the portrait was crashing here for me on the front camera, but overall not bad. The front camera as well is also quite good at 8 megapixels and does a good job of AI tweaking it and making a pretty good shot overall. And the front facing video, this is a cost cutting measure here. We do only get 1080p front video on the Google Pixel 4a. So it's not the best on the front facing video and it crops in quite a bit. So you're going to want to use that rear camera for most of your results. On the whole, the camera is pretty phenomenal. Take a look at some of the samples I have with this camera to decide for yourself if it's going to be worth it for you. And here is some front-facing video with the Google Pixel 4a, and this is kind of like the video you can expect from the front of this phone. Not bad for $349.99. Now when it comes to the battery life, it's a day phone. Let's make it simple. This phone will get you through the day. It's not doing much more. Heavy using, you're gonna charge this thing middle of the day. You're just using it regular use, you'll be fine. But again, if you're taxing it with the camera, you're taxing this CPU with the gaming and stuff like that, this is not going to make it the whole day. But at 3140 milliamp for general use, you know, out and about, taking a few pictures here and there, texting, Facebook, YouTube, stuff like that, just throughout the day, using the phone, a couple emails here and there, text messaging, everything will be just fine with this. You'll get through a day. You also have battery saver modes again to help you out there. And if you turn on the dark theme in the display settings, you'll also get the easy ability to go ahead and save a little bit more battery here, because OLED does help the Google Pixel save some battery. It's also neat that Google did include a fast charger with this phone. That's one thing that really doesn't make me care at all about the battery, because when I charge this thing up, I go use the bathroom 20 minutes later, you know, I have a full charge almost on this phone, especially if I'm coming from like, you know, 80, 75%. If I just throw it on charge 20 minutes later, I'm back to 100 like nothing. So fast charging right in the box is a really nice touch. And some other items with this device we didn't discuss related to connectivity. We do have pretty solid phone call quality. I haven't had any drop calls with this. Calls sounded fine. Speakers are loud enough. They do get tinny at the highest volumes, but they're not bad. They work for the phone. Bluetooth 5.1 has made connections on Pixel 4a incredibly fast. In addition to that, the connectivity here on this phone, having that universal standard USB-C is just incredible. I really like having USB-C. Most products are going that route. Now there's no 5G on this phone, but do keep in mind we also have AC Wi-Fi on here. Very fast Wi-Fi performance on board overall for the Google Pixel. So connectivity, they nailed the basics here. The only thing you're lacking basically is 5G. So at the end of the day, the Google Pixel 4a, I would recommend getting a case. If you want to get this case, it's just a flat black case to kind of match the phone's color. I'll leave a link to this one down below. It needs a case. It's a little bit slippery. It provides more grip. At the end of the day, the Google Pixel 4a is incredible for the price. It actually feels almost like a flagship grade device. If I didn't tell you the specs inside of here, you would just think it's a flagship phone, basically. The only difference I'm seeing is that we don't have wide angle. And if you've used wide angle, you know it's amazing. You'll be missing wide angle a little bit. I would like to see Google, even if they had to put a little bit of a lower quality to get the price down, at least put a wide angle in the next version, like the 5A, that I want to see a little bit more usable brightness. Sometimes the brightness just seems a little bit too low for me, but all the positives easily outweigh a few minor cons, and I think there's a good reason why this phone is selling extremely well right now. So if you're thinking about getting a Pixel 4a, don't even think twice. Go for it. It's probably the best value phone for around this price range. You can argue with me all day about, you know, Xiaomi phones, all those other phones, but they don't get the same software support as a Google Pixel 4a. Anyway, if you found this video helpful, entertaining, informing, do me a favor, click that like button for me. Subscribe if you haven't already. Nick here helping you to master your technology. Be sure to be well, and peace.